Let's bring in Jelle Kroes, who's the principal for the law firm Kroes Immigration Lawyers in Amsterdam. Welcome on the program. First of all, can you explain to us why there's a U.S. visa requirement for just these 5 countries in the EU: Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Poland, and Romania? Why the focus on these 5?
Thank you. Yes. Well, this is, of course, an internal U.S. Policy matter. We don't know. There don't seem to be particular reasons. We do know that it is Congress who has to decide whether a country fulfills the criteria for a visa waiver. And one of the criteria is apparently that a certain visa approval or a visa refusal rate must be avoided. So if there's a visa refusal rate of over 3%, then the country is not eligible for a visa waiver. It is Congress who decides whether this criteria is met. So the influence of the administration is relatively small in this respect. It all seems to be, from the U.S. side, more like something that is not of a very high priority than that it's a very principled thing. But then again, this is a U.S. internal matter, why these countries are not visa-free.
And the Trump administration, has promised to clamp down on immigration. Do you see this administration introducing visa requirements down the road for all EU citizens and not just the ones from these 5 countries?
Yes, I understand. Well, take, for example, Poland, which has been a member for many years. It's part of the Schengen area, so anybody traveling to any Schengen country, which is most of the EU, can travel to Poland without any border passage. There doesn't seem to be a particularly solid reason why, for example, Poland should not be entered into the visa waiver program of the United States. So again, it is a bit of a guess, but I don't think that the strong stance of the Trump administration to security issues, also related to visa policy, is something that throws a negative shadow onto immigration and visa requirements for these 5 countries. I don't really see a direct relationship there. But it is, of course, a possibility for the EU at this moment to see whether the Trump administration is open to solve this particular problem.
And Jelle, how significant is this resolution that was passed in the EU Parliament? And what is going to happen if the United States does not lift the visa requirements? How will the EU respond? The EU Commission, I should say.
Yes. Well, that is really a big question, and it's very interesting. We don't know exactly the mechanisms yet that are in place at this moment, how they work out in practice. The non-reciprocity mechanism has been entered into force in 2014. It was then notified that 5 countries did not honor this reciprocity and allowed for visa-free travel for certain EU countries and not others. And these countries were Canada, Australia, Japan, Brunei, and the United States. Now, this mechanism has obliged the Commission to start talks with these governments, with the governments of these countries, to strive to reciprocity. And they have been successful in 4 of these cases. Only Canada still has restrictions, but they will be lifted ultimately on the 31st December of 2017. The only country that hasn't made any progress is, or that we haven't made any progress with, I should say, is the United States. So in general, the way the Commission, the European Commission, is acting on this obligation seems to be successful. And they prefer to do it in a diplomatic avenue. Now, why is the Parliament pushing the Commission to act upon this obligation? Well, this is a bit of a guess because the Parliament hasn't discussed, for example, the consequences that could come out of a retaliation by the United States, because it would mean that all EU citizens would have a visa, need a visa to travel to the US. So it seems more like a principled stance that the Parliament is taking here.
Understood, and this is not legally binding, as our reporter said. Thank you so much, Jelle Kroes with the Kroes Immigration Lawyers in Amsterdam.